was. American Sign Language can also be referred to as ASL or AMSLAN, however you'd like to pronounce that. It is a visual manual modality language. This language is dominantly used by the deaf cultures in America and also in English-speaking Canadians. Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet, a minister that was interested in a school for the deaf in Paris, went to study a school designed for deaf people in Paris. Upon his observation there, he met a guy by the name of Laurent Clerc. Clerc went to America with Gallaudet later on to learn from each other's studies. Clerc and Gallaudet traded their knowledge for their known subjects. Clerc knew Old French Sign Language and Gallaudet, he knew English, so they taught each other their own languages and became fluent in them. The two of these men later founded the first school for the deaf in America, called the American School for the Deaf in Hartford, Connecticut. The OFSL, which is Old French Sign Language that Clerc brought to America, has evolved and changed immensely since then and was blended together with the previous native sign languages. Later on down the road, a man by the name of William Stokoe, he was an English professor at the Gallaudet University. He studied the language of sign language and came to the conclusion that it held all of the components that regular languages have or hold, which is phonology, morphology, syntax, etc. Through this, he researched tons of things about the language, and later on his research became the foundation for others who wanted to know more about the language. Because of his research, they were able to produce and evolve the American Sign Language into what it is today. Through his research, others have been able to produce and evolve the American Sign Language through secondary and post-secondary schools in the U.S. today.
Okay, pronunciation is the active manner of pronouncing manual or vocal words, or the way a word or language is usually articulated, signed, or spoken. It might be easy for English-speaking students to learn and pronounce Spanish or French, but difficult for them to pronounce Navajo, one of the Native American languages, or Hoxha, one of the African languages. Students of language are accustomed to pronouncing certain ways that are similar to their native language, but they might find it more challenging when they're unfamiliar with remote pronunciation of another language. As for learning ASL, students not only learn another language, but also another language to pronounce in a different modality. Most languages are in the vocal auditory modality, which is what we are speaking right now. ASL is the visual manual modality. Students of ASL find it harder to learn the language because they are accustomed to speech produced by a coordination of the tongue, lips, glottis, vocal cords, etc. But ASL teaches one to instead develop motor control of the different parts of the body. So it includes like fingers, hands, arms, mouth, eyes, eyebrows, head, which isn't as natural for a non-native ASL speaker. The smallest units of language in spoken language are called phonemes. In sign language, each sign consists of the 5 basic parts called parameters, in which each of the 5 parameters has its set of primes. Each ASL sign or word consists of these 5 parameters: hand shape, movement, location, palm orientation, and facial body expressions, or non-manual signs and markers. Each parameter has a number of primes. For example, the hand shape parameter has over 40 different hand shapes, or hand shape primes. Okay. When one of these parameters or primes changes, a signed word results in a different meaning. For example, by doing this, I have signed the word chicken, but with a slight change of location, I have now signed the word bug. With a slight change in hand shape, this is mom. And then a different location in palm orientation, I've signed grandmother. Okay. Another example would be royalty. The different types of royalty. If you just do a different letter, it means majesty, or king, or prince, or queen, or etc. No matter what You just have to change the way your hand is shaped, and it depends on the different type of meaning. It's all this way though. Okay, the last one that's my favorite would be this one. Everyone knows this sign as I love you, but if you just turn it like this and go, it's airplane. Needless to say, with the wrong change in parameter, one could easily misinterpret a sign for a different meaning. This is where most non-native ASL speakers make the most mistakes. Also, many ASL words have more than one prime of a parameter in a single production. For example, the ASL word parents has one hand shape, one movement, one palm orientation, and two locations. Parents. A more complicated word production would be the word today. It has multiple primes of all 5 parameters. Again, today. Other examples of more than one prime of a parameter would be many types of professions, like teacher, singer, actor, pastor, and many words with the prefix un. Unintelligible, unskilled, unnatural, unnoticed. Morphemes. Morphemes are the smallest meaningful unit of a language. Vocal auditory morphemes are composed of phonemes, which is the smallest unit of sound. Written morphemes are composed of graphemes. These are the smallest units of a written language. For example, the alphabet. Visual manual morphemes are composed of parameters and also their primes. What is a free morpheme in ASL? A free morpheme can stand alone. In English, they look like cat, go, or frown. In ASL, they are words like love, see, or mother. What is a bound morpheme? Bound morphemes are the smallest meaningful unit and cannot stand by themselves. Bound morphemes are the affixes attached to words, for example, s, or ed, or er, or ing endings. With ASL, signs like dancer and preacher have 2 morphemes: dance, preach, and their agent, also known as person. Dancer and preacher. Another possibility for ASL is that the language can be simultaneous. In the Language Files textbook, the author writes examples that ASL can say 2 things at once while English cannot. For example, the sign don't like, don't know, and don't want, they're expressed with 2 words in one fluent motion, while in English, 2 words at the same time, it's not possible. If I said she is, I would have to say them as 2 separate words. I wouldn't be able to say them at the same time unless you say she while I say is. She is. No, I said she. Oh. You get my point. So, 2 words in one fluent motion in English is impossible, while they can be possible in ASL. Syntax. Syntax is the study of sentence structure in a language. It inspects how words are combined into phrases and sentences. Every language has its own syntax, or rules of word order in a sentence. ASL follows a topic plus comment structure. This is the same as the English subject-predicate structure. However, instead of the topic always being the subject, the topic in ASL is whatever the comment is referring to, the subject or the object. That's where topicalization comes in. Topicalization is a hard word to pronounce, as well as a process of establishing a topic in a sentence which involves different non-manual markers than a simple SVO structure, meaning subject-verb-object structure. It is like a sentence opener. A visual manual speaker begins with a topic to open what she or he talks about, and then proceeds to make a statement or a question. Using the subject as the topic is using an active voice, as in the subject-verb-object word order. Using this object as a topic is using a passive voice, in the opposite order of object-subject-verb. An example of active voice is this. The literal English translation of girl kick ball is the girl kicked the ball. An example of passive voice is ball, girl, kick, where the topic is the ball and the comment is girl kick. The literal translation of that is the ball was kicked by the girl. The second example is topicalization because the topic differs from the subject. Unlike English, a sentence does not have to have an object in ASL to be grammatically correct. For example, the following options of ASL sentences are all correct. Man, nice, which is subject verb. He, nice, which is pronoun verb. Man, nice, he, subject verb pronoun. But nice man is not correct. ASL is not a correct ASL sentence because it would be putting the verb before the subject of the sentence. Time can also be added to the arrangement of sentence structures. Time plus subject plus action plus object.